Hi everyone. The alpha of World of Warcraft's Midnight expansion dropped this week and brought a whole host of new changes to World of Warcraft in terms of class design. I'm ASDF Champion, better known in the World of Warcraft universe as Marchand, and today we are going to talk about Demonology Warlock and what it's looking like in alpha. With the removal of in-game add-ons and weak ores coming to endgame content in Midnight, Blizzard has gone ahead and has radically changed almost every class and specialization in the game. There's a ton to cover, so we'll start by talking specifically about Blizzard's new design philosophy, but then we'll talk about the changes to Demonology Warlock itself. And there's a lot to cover. A lot. It's important to get the context from Blizzard, though, on why these changes are happening. And they wrote us a novel to try and explain it. It was a really long blue post. I'm going to post it in the description so you guys can check it out on your own time if you'd like to read it for yourself. But I will be doing a quick summary because it's important context to understand the choices that they've made to Demonology Warlock and to the class tree specifically. So why is Blizzard doing this? To quickly summarize, they wanted to make specs more approachable for newer and seasoned players who wanted to dip their toes into a new spec they haven't tried before. They're doing this by pruning a lot of abilities, cutting down both offensive and defensive cooldowns to make specializations less overwhelming to learn and understand. Less buttons equals easier in this case. Blizzard, I believe, is trying to make classes simpler to play, but put even more skill expression into encounters. We can see this by them removing add-ons and weak auras to work in endgame content, and encounters have been getting more challenging for a long time. Since Warlords of Draenor, 2/3 of final bosses have taken over 200 pulls, 15 of the last 22 have taken 250 plus pulls, and Ian himself has said the goal here is not to make raids or encounters easier. He wanted to be about the same difficulty. So they're looking at starting by making classes simpler to play and hopefully making encounters roughly the same difficulty as they are now. They also want to remove the need to track specific auras and buffs to effectively play a class. A good example of this is the Imp tracker I use. These little two green bars right here are my Imp trackers. The numbers down here are the energy, the numbers up here are how much time they have left. When playing Demonology at an optimized level, at a high level, you need to know when your imps are going to expire. You need to know this so you can properly fit them within your tyrant whenever you're getting your tyrant ready. You also need to know this when it comes to implosion, to maximize the amount of use you're getting out of your imps and the amount of damage that you're going to do. Here as well, they have Soul Strike. That's another example of an ability that they're looking at getting rid of. Soul Strike is a 20-second cooldown, but it's not tracked in-game. Your pet does the attack roughly every 20 seconds. It depends if he's ready or not. He might be doing something else when it comes off cooldown, but it gives you a random shard. So they want to remove the need to track things like that to play optimally. Lastly, they're looking for a smoother leveling experience. Less buttons might mean more impactful abilities in the tree and make it more approachable. We'll see more when we get to the challenge tree how they've done this and whether they've done it effectively. For the class changes, here's the full list. There's a few here that I think are pretty interesting. First being Foul Mouth. Foul Mouth is a new passive talent that is going to bring a ton of utility, mostly to Mythic Plus, but it reads, casting Curse of Exhaustion, Tongues, or Weakness now curses all enemies within 10 yards of the target. This will massively help with mobs in Mythic Plus in a bunch of ways. Exhaustion will help slowing the pack if your tank needs to kite it. Tongues will slow down a bunch of casters if you end up pulling big with a ton of casters that need interrupting. Weakness is really good if your tank is going to be taking a lot of just white damage or those kind of melee attacks. Blight of Weakness is a mix of both. This could be really good on boss fights. It could also be really good on raid bosses. It slows down all of their attacks, by a little less than weakness or tongues would on an individual level. So it's kind of a little jack of all trades weak curse that you can have. Of course, you can only have one blight or curse on your target at one time, so you can't pair this up with a different curse. Soul Conduit is a talent that is an example of a talent that they're taking away. It's a bit unfortunate. It was a nice talent to kind of get a bonus shard here and there, but it does fit in with kind of their new design philosophy, and it wasn't as impactful as it used to be. Back in Legion, if we remember, it used to be 20% chance to refresh a soul shard. Now it's about 5%, so it's not really impactful. It gets rid of that random bit of soul shard generation. The Blizzard wants to get rid of it, and we'll see that as well in the specialization tree, that they've removed a lot of that randomness that comes to it. They want your reactive gameplay to come specifically from procs, specifically Demon Bolt procs. They don't want it to come from random sources of soul shards. And here's a look at the current and then the class tree heading into Midnight. So there's a lot less bloat in the middle, kind of like there is here, but there are some new 2-point talents in the tree, and there's some more 2-point talents down here. One thing I actually really like about this tree is the pathing of it. On the left-hand side here, these are all defensive. So they kind of put all the defensives on one side of the tree, and this side of the tree is more utility-based. So you have like Shadow Fury, you have Mortal Coil, you have abilities like that that'll kind of help your utility. And on this side of the tree, you have things that are going to help your defensiveness with your cooldown reductions on your big defensives, your demonic healthstone, stuff like that. It is pretty flexible as well, the tree. There are certainly points you can move in and out if I wanted to take Banish, for example. So I actually like the new Midnight tree. I think in terms of being able to pick utility or defensiveness, it's there, it's effective, and there's enough movement in the tree that you don't feel stuck one way or another. For Demonology specifically, this is what Blizzard specifically said surrounding their new philosophy with the specialization. Now feel free to pause the video if you want to read it yourself, but to summarize it, they wanted to move away from having to track imp energy, like I mentioned. So they've made it so imps are now alive for 40 seconds regardless of whether you're in combat or not, but they've also placed a hard cap on imps. They've also went ahead and wanted to modify the Tyrant's ramp so it's easier to execute. If we remember, going into Season 3 of The War Within, they tried to lower the number of imps, and eventually they went back on that because of the community backlash they received on it. And so they've removed like Grimoire Felguard, they've tied Valfiend to Dreadstalkers, and they also say they want to simplify the leveling experience. So we're going to see something in the talent tree that we haven't actually seen since Wrath of the Lich King. The first big change coming to the class is they've redesigned Hand of Gul'dan. Now, based on what I'm hearing kind of in the Demonology Warlock community, this is kind of the big thing that a lot of people are reacting to. So Hand of Gul'dan has been redesigned. It reads, call down a demonic meteor that deals shadow flame damage on impact to all enemies within 8 yards of the target, and summon 3 wild imps that last 40 seconds. Hand of Gul'dan becomes Eye of Gul'dan when you control 3 wild imps, dealing shadow flame damage to a single target. So Hand of Gul'dan can now only be cast at 3 shards. It can't be cast at 1, 2, or 3 like it used to be. And it can only have a max of 3 imps. When you have your 3 imps out, it changes to an ability called Eye of Gul'dan, and that makes it become a single target ability. Without taking certain additional talents, which we'll see here in a second, 3 imps is the max amount of imps that you'll be able to have. We'll see how it plays specifically. The alpha did just start. I'm not sure if I have a strong opinion either way of it. I think capping imps is less fun and flavorful. It's been a staple of Demonology for a while now. But it does actually lead to some interesting choices when it comes to both single target and AoE builds. Do you build more imps and delay getting into Eye of Gul'dan in a single target setting? or do you not take the bonus imp talents and get to I quicker? So the max amount of imps we can have out is 9 by taking other talents, and then there's a talent called Ancient Imps, so bring in our total number of imps to 12. So this has been kind of, again, the big thing that the community's been talking about. Hand of Gul'dan becomes I Gul'dan. It goes from summoning imps to becoming a single target ability. A few other talents have been reworked. A few of these that I find interesting are Imp Gang Boss. So Imp Gang Boss currently now, it has a 15% chance to summon a wild imp if you have it talented. Now, in this case, Imp Gang Boss, if you pick this talent, Hand of Gul'dan will guaranteed summon at least one Imp Gang Boss. One imp. So if imps are strong, if they do a lot of damage, this talent is going to be naturally very, very good, because Imp Gang Bosses, of course, do more damage than a regular imp. They've also redesigned Vile Fiend. So since Battle for Azeroth Summon, Vile Fiend has been a separate talent. It used to be a level 60 talent with a 45-second cooldown and became a level 35 talent in Shadowlands with the level squish. And then they put it into the tree in Dragonflight. And now it's a 25-second cooldown in the third season here of the War Within. And they've added an AoE and single target version of that pet. In Midnight, they're changing it. It's been redesigned, so Cold Dreadstalkers also summons a Vile Fiend that assists you in combat for 15 seconds. So nothing about the ability has changed. Mark of Shatug and Faharg are still there as a capstone talent, so you can still pick between the single target and the AoE dog. It's just now a passive talent on the right side of the tree that will be summoned when you're using your Call Dreadstalkers. Lasts for the same amount of time as well. It's not specified in the Tyrant tooltip that it's going to be extended, but there's no reason to believe it won't be. For the first time as well, like I mentioned, since Wrath of the Lich King, Summoned Felguard has been moved to the talent tree, so it's no longer a part of the base Demonology kit. In Burning Crusade, they of course added the Felguard. It became a talent. It stayed that way in Wrath of the Lich King, but it was in Cataclysm that they decided they were going to add it to the base kit. You got it at level 10 when you picked the specialization. In Mist of Pandaria, they raised it to level 42, and it was still a part of the base kit. And then in Legion and BFA and Shadowlands, they all kind of changed the level that you could acquire it. But it's still been a part of that base kit. In Midnight, it's back to being a talent on the specialization tree. Now, I'm 99% confident that it'll still be our main pet. Blizzard has said they only really made it a talent to make it clear to new players that this is a more powerful demon and you should use it. But it's back in the tree. And there's certainly a possibility you could make a Felguard-less talent build. There is actually a way. When we see the tree, you'll see that what's connected to Felguard is not a lot of the tree. You're not very restricted in that way. We have a couple other small tweaks to challenge. So Master Summoner and Sack Souls are now 2-point talents. Demonology no longer has access to Corruption, which we never used it anyways. If you'd like to read the whole list, feel free to kind of pause the video, or you can check out the notes linked in the description. There's a whole host of new talents here as well. So this is the full list. You can certainly read them for yourself. A few of these talents are very interesting. First off, our Imp. As mentioned, with the redesigned kind of Hand of Gul'dan, there's a new imp cap of 3, but there's a few talents to increase the number. Imp Mastery is one of these, so it increases the number of wild imps you can control by 3 and the damage they deal by 10%. You also have Hellbent Commander, increases the number of wild imps you can control by 3 and increase their haste by 5%. You also have Ancient Imps, so that summons 3 Ancient Imps every 15 seconds. Ancient Imps benefit from all wild imp bonuses, so that increased damage and increased haste. And you can only have 3 Ancient Imps active at a time. That's another one of our capstone talents in the tree. So to kind of recap a little bit about the new imp cap coming to Demonology, Hand of Gul'dan will give you 3 imps. Imp Mastery gives you another 3 imps, bringing your total to 6, and increases their damage by 10%. Hellbent Commander gives you another 3 imps, giving you a total of 9 and increasing their haste to 5%. Ancient Imps are passive imps. They spawn every 15 seconds, but they will last the same length as an imp. So they'll spawn after 15 seconds and then they last 40 seconds. They're a passive summon, and they're going to gain all of the benefits of the other imps. Now, if you choose not to take one of these talents, so let's say you don't take Imp Mastery, you can only max out at 9 imps, and your Ancient Imps would only gain the haste. They obviously wouldn't gain the damage if you don't pick Imp Mastery. The way that this works with Hand of Gul'dan, because of the way that it's worded, is that you can continue to cast Hand of Gul'dan until you have the max amount of imps. So it specifies only in the tooltip. Once you have 3, it changes to an I. If you talent into Imp Mastery and Hellbent Commander, you can cast it so you have 6 or so you have 9. And then at that point, it'll turn into Eye of Gul'dan and the single target ability. Secondly, there is a new kit when it comes to our Implosion talents that I'm really excited for. Implosion has been pretty weak for a while. We have Improved Implosion, we have Executive Decision, and we have Summoned Doomguard. So, Improved Implosion increases the damage dealt by Implosion by 5% for each wild imp active when Implosion is cast. So this is where kind of the more AoE and single target design choices come when it comes to how many imps you want spawned, is that Implosion will benefit from having more imps. So your AoE is going to benefit from having a lot more imps. Your single target might not, depending on how much damage your wild imps are going to do. And obviously, this is still alpha, there's lots of tuning to come, so we have no idea what numbers are going to be on this. I'm not worried about numbers at all anyways. We're just kind of talking strictly about design choices here. We have Executive Decision as well. So Executive Decision increases implosion damage dealt by imploding an Imp Gang boss by 100%. And you also increase the chance of receiving a demonic core from an Imp Gang boss by an additional 10% when killed by implosion. So the way, of course, that it works now, and how it will work in Midnight as well with your kind of Demon Bolt procs, with your Demoniac as it's called, is that whenever you cast Implosion, you have a 10% chance to generate a demonic core for every imp, or each imp has a 10% chance to give you a demonic core. In this one, Imp Gang boss will give you a 20% chance. And if we remember, the talent Imp Gang boss has been redesigned. You'll guaranteed get one with every Hand of Gul'dan. So you'll probably pair that with Executive Decision. We also have Summon Doomguard. So Implosion has a 10% chance to summon a Doomguard that hurls Doom Bolt volleys at 3 nearby enemies for 10 seconds. The chance to summon a Doomguard is increased by 10% per wild imp sacrificed. So, the Doomguard is back. It now does AoE damage again like it did in Season 3 and 4 of Dragonflight. You also guaranteed get a Doomguard if you have 9 imps. So if you talent into Imp Mastery, if you talent into Hellbent Commander, and you have those 9 imps, every time you implode at 9 imps, which is probably what you'll be doing in AoE settings, you'll get a Doomguard. So that's really kind of cool as well. Doom is gone. So Demon Bolt, so there's a new talent now called Explosive Core. So they've removed Doom. And it reads that Demon Bolt explodes on impact when it consumes a demonic core, dealing 30% of damage onto all enemies within 8 yards. So with Doom being gone, they've just turned your Demon Bolt into an AoE ability. So that's a fun talent you can take in an AoE setting. We also have Antoran Armaments. So it was a talent in Dragonflight that increased your Felguard and Soul Strike damage. So they've changed it and it's back now. And it reads, your Demonic Tyrant is equipped with armor forged within Antorus, increasing their armor by 10%. While summoned, the Demonic Tyrant now assaults enemies with powerful melee attacks. So this makes your Tyrant do AoE damage, and in terms of flavor, it actually looks really, really cool, and it's so much fun. I do love this talent. This is one of the talents I really love, and it's something Tyrant hasn't needed for a while. Your Tyrant, of course, it still buffs your imps, it still buffs your dogs, your Vile Fiend, all of that stuff. It'll still buff. There's no more caps on Tyrant anymore because, of course, now there's caps on the imps. But this makes him even more powerful in that way. There's actually a super cool talent. We also have several new passive talents. So we have like Fel Intellect and passive rituals, and that increases our intellect and our mastery. That's really just for kind of some filler stuff within the tree. Unholy Power is a new talent. It increases the damage of our primary demon. We also have Doomguard Bracers. So we also have Doomguard Bracers. That's going to increase the primary damage, or increase the damage dealt by your primary demon by 5%. And Axos now removes one harmful magical effect. So that could be really cool. I don't know if that talent means you can no longer interrupt. It's nice that we kind of have a dispel on ourselves now. That's a lot of fun. But we'll have to see kind of how that plays out and how that feels. I don't have alpha access, so unfortunately I can't test it for you guys, but those are some of the new talents that we're kind of looking at here. So here's the trees. So on the left we have kind of the current tree. As we see, there's a lot of bloat kind of in the middle here, and so they wanted to cut down on the amount of talents, but they added some more 2-point talents, and this is the Midnight talent tree as it looks. We kind of see here it has 4 capstone abilities now. Each one of them do something different. We have the Vile Fiend capstone. This is your Eye of Gul'dan capstone, so you'll probably use this thing as a single target. This is your Doomguard capstone, so this is your implosion ability, and then this is the Doomguard himself. You also have the Power Siphon capstone here, so those are like your ancient imps with Power Siphon. Power Siphon as well takes 3 imps and gives you 3 cores. So right now it's 2 imps, 2 cores, now it's going to be 3 imps, 3 cores. So they kind of pair this together, so you get the ancient imps probably before a boss pull or something like that, and you'll use Power Siphon, and you'll get a bunch of cores to kind of start your fight. You also have Felguard up here, so this is where the Felguard placement is now. As you can see, we only have 2 abilities here that connect to the Felguard. This one increases the damage of his laser strike. This is the one that makes it so he can remove Dispel from you. If you take the 2 AoE abilities up here, you can completely ignore the Felguard if you wanted to. So it's fun, I guess, in a little bit of a sense. It could be fun. There could be some fun builds with it. You're probably still taking this like 99% of the time. It's still going to be a mandatory talent to take. But this is what the tree kind of looks like here. There are quite a few 2-point talents down here. So the tree can kind of feel maybe a little cluttered as you make a decision. This is just a quick one I threw together on Wowhead. This is more like single target focused. So we're getting 3 new talents coming into Midnight as well. So they're called Apex talents. Ours are called the Dominion of Argus. They exist on the bottom left of the tree. I decided to cut them separately here just so you guys could see them for themselves. They activate when you unlock kind of that last row of talents on the tree. And they look exactly like talents. They don't look anything special. I hope they kind of improve the visuals of that throughout the alpha. But our Apex talents, so the first one is called Dreadstalker. Summon 1 additional Greater Dreadstalker at 200% effectiveness that fades after 30 seconds. Only 1 Greater Dreadstalker can be summoned at a time, and its duration is refreshed when summoned. Similar to our Liberation of Undermine tier set, we're going to get a 3rd dog. That's super cool. I love that. It's very thematic. And its duration is refreshed when it's resummoned. Of course, if you think about it, Call Dreadstalkers is a 20-second cooldown. So effectively this means you are going to have a Greater Dreadstalker present at all times. That's going to be a lot of fun. That's a fun little kind of nod to flavor that I really like. The next talent is increase the damage of Felguard's Legion Strike by 50%, 100%, and Fellstorm by 50, 100%. It's a 2-point talent. Nothing really special. Your Felguard just does more damage. And the last one is the Soulkeeper stalks you. Collecting demonic cords as you use them has an increasing chance you unleash a powerful attack at your target whenever it collects a demonic core. So this will be similar to the Soulkeeper that we had at the start of Dragonflight. That you could like summon and he would do like a bunch of AoE damage. It wasn't super powerful. So whereas an Apex talent, hopefully it's a lot more powerful. As you see as well, in order to take the Apex talents, you'd have to use all 4 talent points on your Apex talents. So in order to use them, you have to use 4 points. So it might be smart to go all 4. If Soulkeeper's not super strong, you might go 3. You might even just go 1 as well. It all really depends on what tuning's going to look like for these talents here. But again, it's only alpha. Numbers don't really matter. This is strictly about how the class plays and its design. This here is kind of the full list of removed talents. So of course you have some important ones. Grimoire Felguard is gone. That was our 2-minute Felguard. So you'd have like the big Tyrant and the little Tyrant. That's gone. They got rid of it because they wanted to shorten the ramp on it. I kind of get it a little bit, but I am going to miss it. I think it's been a pretty impactful talent for the past few expansions. Doom is going to be gone. It has been a staple this expansion. They kind of brought it back with the Dragonflight tier set last expansion. It worked quite well. It's gone. Of course, they changed the talent, so now your Demon Bolt's just going to be AoE itself, so this is kind of redundant. Demonic Strength, I'm happy it's gone. It was an awkward talent to use. That being said, like I mentioned, it's also been a staple for a while, so it's going to be a bit different to kind of play with it. Bile Scourge Bombers, of course, has not been good. It's always been very fun and flavorful. It's just, it has not been good. Has not been a good talent to play at all. But it's always been fun to play. It's just not very powerful. They do mention Foul Mouth here. This, of course, is not to be confused with the new talent in the class tree, Foul Mouth, that makes your curses AoE. This is the one that made your Vile Fiend apply Wicked Maw, which is also gone. So these are kind of the full list of talents gone. Some of these I'm sad to see. Some of these, you know, it kind of makes sense that they're gone. Like we mentioned earlier as well, Soul Strike, that's gone as well. So I wanted to show you guys a visual. So this is just from the Blizzard UI in-game right now, the cooldown manager that is live right now for the War Within that they're getting updates from. These are kind of our core abilities. They don't have Implosion here for some reason, but these are kind of our core abilities. So I want to give you a visual of what is being pruned for Demonology. So Demonic Strength is gone. Grimoire Felguard is gone. Summon Vile Fiend is gone. Of course, that's now a passive tied into Cauldron Stalkers. So we lose 3 of our offensive cooldowns. We're lucky in the sense we didn't lose any of our defensive cooldowns. We really only had 2 defensive buttons anyways. But we do lose 3 of really our offensive cooldowns through buttons we would press that would do fun and cool things. So my final thoughts on this whole thing. I'm not sure yet how I feel about the changes, if I'm going to be completely honest. I can kind of see the vision they're going for. Obviously, if it's fun, I'm going to play it at the end of the day. One kind of question that I did have is, like, for Blizzard, is that Totem Tracker kind of already tracked our pets. So, of course, they got rid of Grimoire Felguard because they wanted to simplify the ramp, but they also got rid of different kinds of imp trackers, and they're maxing out the amount of imps there. So how is the totem tracker going to play into tracking our imps? So, in my opinion, Grimoire Felguard might have been overkill because we already knew how long Grimoire Felguard is going to be summoned. It's on the totem tracker. It's within the Blizzard UI right now. It's within their base UI right now. So that could have been overkill, and summoning less demons kind of ruins a little bit of the class fantasy. But if you're summoning less demons but making them more impactful, that could be a lot more meaningful and fun. So maybe that's the direction they're kind of going with it. It might take them some time to get there. It does feel like Demonology right now lost a lot of its flavor. My one big complaint, though, I do have is that pets feel way too passive. So dogs biting when we hand of Gul'dan in season 2 of The War Within. So that's a great example of kind of like an interaction that I'd like to see more with our pets. So imps being able to do that, like every time we Eye of Gul'dan, if the imps, shot a fireball, that could be a lot of way that makes us feel like we have more control over them. One thing they did, I will give them credit for going into The War Within, and I kind of hyped it up at the time. Your tyrant becoming AoE and going into melee is actually like super cool visually. And so those are some more interactions that we like to see. Those are some fun talents that kind of make you feel like you're summoning demons, and that based on your talent choices, your demons are doing different things. It's a way that you can kind of interact with it, because right now they are very, very, very passive. I am, though, a fan of the accessibility. I'm certainly excited to try out a bunch of new specializations that I've had difficulties with in the past with this whole thing. If it makes it so it's more welcoming to new players, obviously that's a good thing. I love this game. If more people play this game, that's awesome. And if there's less of a barrier for that, that's also awesome. Did Blizzard go too far in terms of sacrificing, though, accessibility for more creativity, for more skill expression? Did they go too far in that direction? We'll have to see when the time comes. But again, it's only alpha. The thing that matters right now are design. So when we get a chance to play the alpha, or when we get a chance to even play the beta, they're going to be listening to kind of that feedback. So it's important to kind of be hitting them on feedback. What feels good? What doesn't feel good? Is this fun? Is this not fun? So they can make the appropriate changes. Because at the end of the day, if the game's fun, I'm going to play it. If it's 4 buttons and it's very Final Fantasy 14-esque, if it's fun, if I'm having fun with it, I'm going to play it. So that's my main goal, hopefully in alpha, is that these things feel playable. They don't feel like they lose their class fantasy, and it's fun to kind of, play Demonology, to feel like a summoner. Because Demonology for me is there's been no other MMO that I've been able to try that's been able to replicate it as well as World of Warcraft has done, that I find it fun enough to do it in the way that World of Warcraft has done. But anyway, those are my final thoughts. I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts in the comment. If you like what you hear, if you like the video, give it kind of a like and subscribe. I do have some raid guides coming out, so those will be out kind of in a little bit as well. And as we move through kind of the alpha cycle, as changes happen, I will keep you guys posted on what Demonology Warlock is going to look like going forward. I appreciate you guys taking the time to hear my thoughts, to hear me talk about Demonology Warlock for a little over 30 minutes, and I will see you guys in the next one.